There we are.
Hi, everyone. We're live.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome back to day 2 of our Procreate live event here at Design Cuts. And I am so thrilled to welcome my very good friend and super talented illustrator, Lisa Glanz. Hey, Lisa.
Hello. Hey, everyone. So glad you're here.
This is going to be really fun. I mean, I think we're seeing record numbers. Just look at how many people have showed up. So let us know where you're tuning in from. We can see there's people all over the world tuned in right now.
Can't believe it. Actually, I'm just scrolling through it. It's like so many. Wow.
So many. I think this is going to be an incredible session. And just before we jump in, I did say this to the amazing speakers yesterday, but a huge thank you, Lisa, for being part of this, because we know it's providing a lot of people out there with distraction and comfort and learning from home. And there's a lot of people feeling a bit isolated at the minute. So this is why it's so important to us that we wanted to push this event out. And we're just so grateful and thankful that you're part of it.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I must say I've been really grateful to be part of this creative community in the last couple of weeks, because I think everyone's been amazing. And I can't believe all the stuff that they're doing for free and all the help they're putting out there. So yeah, this is just my small bit, and thanks to you, Tom, for putting it all together. It's amazing.
What are we going to be learning today? Because I think it's a much needed cuteness, isn't it?
Yes. Okay. So we all need to feel a little better about the day. So we're going to be drawing a bear with a little bird on his head. And yeah, so I don't know if we want to get straight into it, or we want to kind of do a bit more welcome stuff.
Let's jump in. I think we've got tons of people here. And anyone who kind of joins midway through, there will be a replay. We always get asked that a lot on these sessions. You know, there will be a replay because you've registered for this. We're also going to edit the final outcome video and put that on our YouTube. So, you know, if you can't sit through the entire thing, or you need to run an errand or something, it will all be there. Do not fret.
Yeah, promise. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Can you see that?
Yes, and also massive shout out and respect for Lisa, because she's had to travel safely, of course, today to a place, her house, where she gets good internet connection from where they're currently staying. Yeah, so we really appreciate you making the effort. And
it's a pleasure. Today. Okay, so these are the guys that we're going to be drawing today. And I'm going to jump straight into creating a new document. That's so please do, yeah. So if I'm going too fast, if you think I'm going too fast, Tom, or guys, just let me know in the comments as well. But I'm going to go at a pace that I'm hoping, if you are following along, that you can. Okay, so I just created a document. It's 300 by 300. You can choose any size, and I'm going to go ahead and choose any color. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to start building my characters using my character drawing kit. And we're going to start with a head. I've chosen the bear head, obviously. And coming over to my selection tool, I'm just going to increase it. And then I also want to just kind of take him down in width, because we want to elongate him slightly. And increase it again. Okay, so for each shape, I'm literally just going to create a new layer. That's going to be the easiest way to keep a handle on everything. And then I'm just using one of the snout. I've just seen a typo in one of my brushes. Sorry, guys. Look at that. It's called shout rectangle. Instead of
it's
start.
Right. It's for those really loud illustrations that you want to do.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm literally stamping it out and kind of moving it into position. And we're going to do the same for each layer. I think this guy needs to go just a dash bigger. Okay.
I still remember when you were conceiving of this pack, Lisa.
Oh,
you remember when it was just an idea? I think we were chatting before the Honest Designers show, and all of us were like, yes, that's amazing. Go make it.
I know. And at that stage, I had no idea how I was going to make it. But okay, so moving on to the eyes.
Yeah, and for anyone wondering, if you don't yet have the character drawing toolkit, we've linked it up below this live stream. It's the shiny green button. And for any budding illustrators out there, it is definitely worth grabbing. It's just so much fun to play with, and it really, really does help your anatomy work.
Okay, so I'm just going to flatten that. and work on the little birdie. Where am I? Okay, so I've got a few full body shapes, which is quite handy if you're really stuck with creating birds. So I'm going to use one of those. Just make them a dash smaller. So something like that. And do the same. I'm just going to create a layer for each one. I'm going to just zoom in quickly. Okay, so these are too far apart, so I'm just going to bring it in. Maybe something like that. Whoops.
Oh, we're joined by our friend Diane Gibbs. Yeah, Lisa did
wait.
make. She's asking if you made all these brushes because she joined late. Yes, she did. These are two of Lisa's most popular brush packs.
Okay. So cool that you joined us. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just literally placing elements to kind of start building my character. And again, just flattening all of those. And I'm going to create a new layer and just pop a light color over that. And then just bring the opacity down. Just so that kind of like, there's several ways you can do that, but that's the easiest way for me. Okay, so now we're going to start working on, actually drawing the outline of the characters. And I'm going to use from my new texture brush pack. It's Lisa's pencil. Okay, so this is the pencil that I use in all my work. And just another kind of tip for that is I found that this pencil, the way I created it, because I like to vectorize all my work. So this pencil vectorizes quite well. I found that that's the best kind of a sweet spot for all the texture and everything.
Yeah, okay, you do an awful lot of vector work, don't you, Lisa?
Yeah, exactly. So I needed something that was going to be able to translate well to that. Okay, so I'm just going to start working on the actual nest first, because this little guy is sitting in a nest, right? And just very lightly plotting out my kind of shape. Doesn't have to be perfect. Oops, I'm just going to take that.
Yeah, our lovely team are linking up all of these brushes in the chat. So if you want to check them out, they're all there linked up and they're all a ton of fun. That texture pack, Lisa, I've been geeking out over so much since we last chatted.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Have you given it a spin yet?
Yeah, and some of the team, we've got one of our team who's a bit of a Procreate addict. So
oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's good fun to play with.
Yeah, I must say it's my, well, obviously it's my go-to now. But, yeah, I kind of like created it with that in mind. It was kind of selfish in a way. I put all the stuff that I need for my work in there. So, yeah.
That's the best way to build it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's useful for you, it will be for other people.
Okay, so I'm just adding a couple of leaves. Just loose work. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so we got an idea of the nest. And I'm going to start working on our bear. And I'm going to extend that line because it's kind of bleeding off the page.
I don't know about everyone watching at home, but I find this incredibly therapeutic, just watching and listening to you work, Lisa. And again, I think this couldn't be a better time this week. I definitely need to feel a bit calm and just chill out.
I must say, drawing is like, sure, I don't know what I'd do without it. It's kind of like my go-to place for just calming down.
Mm-hmm. Gianna is asking, is this being done on a new layer?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. So we've created a new layer above that kind of cream paper. And that's going to be where all my line work is happening.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not confident with putting all your line work on one layer, obviously feel free to, add as you go. Okay, so this little guy is looking up because he's not so sure about this bird on his head. And maybe even a little worried. Okay, now for the little birdie. So with this one, I'm just using the shape as my guide because her eyes are actually going to be closed.
I feel like I'm getting a touch of Aaron Blaze to the eye style there. And I know you took one of his courses.
Yes.
But with your own spin on it, of course.
Kind of like a Disney character in a way.
Yeah, a little bit. It's really cool.
I don't want so much. Okay, so a little tip there. I don't know if you noticed, as I was drawing the beak, I kind of took the smart, that line up. That just subtly gives it a kind of happy look to it. We could, if we stuck to that low, the curve, it kind of curves down, it would look more sad. So just bear that in mind if you want to draw something happy.
And Lisa, am I right in thinking with facial expressions, it must be so subtle? The slight change in an angle or a line can really change the whole feel, right?
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of it, because you don't really need too much line work to actually convey a feeling or an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I to give her eyebrows, which I won't in this case, but I'm just going to show you. So that's like kind of content, or she'd be like angry, or maybe surprised if we put them higher, kind of thing. So
mm-hmm.
Just an eyebrow can do so much.
And this is still just one layer for all the line work, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Okay. And now we're going to turn off these guys because we don't need them anymore. And start adding color. Okay, so using my texture pack, I'm just going to use Salty is like quite a handy brush because you can cover quite a large area, and it gives you really like kind of cool seamless texture. So you don't really have to do much work. And I'm all for that.
You've got so efficient with your work, Lisa. It's like watching a time lapse. It's just so quick.
Really?
I think, compared to average, because you do it day in, day out.
Yeah, I suppose so. Sometimes I feel really slow.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, and the nice thing about this brush, if you wanted to change the color in areas, because it's seamless, I'm just going to show you quickly. It still keeps the texture. So if we wanted a purple bear for some weird reason, it's literally just going to keep all those little specks. It doesn't kind of paint over them. So that's quite cool to remember if you ever make a mistake. Okay, so what I want to do is get rid of this guy and give the background a color. And using the same Salty brush.
Is there a reason why you start fairly muted? Because I've noticed how you kind of build it up like this. Yeah,
because I think if you go straight into like the kind of what do you call it, bright colors, you might get bogged down by the color choices. So it's a good thing to actually work with a fairly limited palette at first, especially if you're a little overwhelmed with color choices. Okay, so I'm going to create a new layer for the bird using the same brush. And a new layer for the nest.
We've got a few people asking where they can get these amazing texture brushes. So it is the lovely green button just below this live stream, and our team will continue to link it up in the chat as well. But I think quite possibly, I'm going to say definitely top 3 favorite Procreate brushes at the minute, because I can't play complete favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. Can't believe I made that list. Okay. So I'm going to start working on the bird to give her a little bit more definition and interest. I'm just going to alpha lock her, and that basically just locks the area that I haven't painted, because I don't want to kind of go beyond her body. So I'm just using a lighter color and the powder brush. And then unlock that. And then I'm going to add her little tail. So in the bird character drawing toolkit, there's quite a few tails that you can choose from. So I'm just going to use like a simple one at this point. And because I've put it on the same layer as the bird, I just need to move it into position. And I'm just going to make it a bit bigger. Okay, whoops. Okay, and then on a new layer, I'm going to start adding some kind of speckles and things on her body, just to give her a little bit more interest. So again, under the the bird toolkit, I've got some markings that you can choose. They kind of pre-made sketchy little markings that you don't have to really do yourself, which is really handy if you want something different and you're trying to also save time. Okay, so with a kind of like a reddish color.
I would say as well, there's I think it's working smoothly for the absolute majority of people, but for a couple of people in the comments, they might be having some lag or some freezing. And there's 2 things which you can try. Either go to the Get Audio and Video Help in the bottom left, just below this live stream, and that helps for the vast majority of people, or give it a good old-fashioned refresh and see if that helps. And I know there's a ton of people at home at the minute, so a lot of people's personal internets are getting overwhelmed.
Yeah,
but also we've got nearly 2,500 people here, which is just nuts. So if there's any lag, those steps should help. But otherwise, we're going to have a replay with completely smooth video for anyone that is experiencing issues.
Okay, so I'm just going to set that blending mode to color burn. And then just bring opacity down a dash. And then using a kind of orangey color. Okay, so the thing with texture and applying texture, it really is, there's no like kind of set rules. It really does take a bit of playing around. So what I did to create the original image may not be what I'm doing now, kind of thing, because it just kind of maybe flowed differently. So I might use different brushes to what I did originally, but the idea is kind of the same. And that isn't working, so I'm going to just create a new layer.
Do these delightful characters have names, by the way, Lisa?
I always forget to name them.
It's all right. I think that's what everyone watching live can maybe help us do while they're watching. So let's start off and say, for the cute bird up top, can we get some name suggestions? And I'll pick some of my favorites. And Lisa, you can pick the final name.
Cool.
So let us know in the chat right now, everyone. What name do you think this bird should have?
Stick with Lydia Bird. Okay. Coming back to my trusty pencil. I'm just going to give her...
Oh, Henrietta. That is a very good suggestion.
Ah, that's so cute.
Penelope. That's a very good one as well. Amelia. Gertrude. We've got a few Penelope pigeons. Pinky as well. Ingrid. What do you think, Lisa? We've got Henrietta, we've got Penelope. Winifred.
I like oh gosh, they're all good. Penelope's cute.
It is quite cute. Should we go with Penelope?
Yes.
Okay. And how about, we've still got names coming in. There's so many amazing suggestions. And how about for the bear, everyone? Let's comment now for the bear, and Lisa can pick.
Okay, so we're just adding some detail.
Boris the bear, Paul says.
Oh, that's cute.
Bertie as well. Bertie's very cute. I think Bertie's my favorite so far. Bob, Buster, Bernard, Ian Bernard.
I love that. Oh, that's classic.
Bruno. A lot of alliteration here. Bertrand. Oh, that's a good one. So what are we feeling for the bear, Lisa? What do you think?
I like the one you liked, which Bertie, isn't it?
Bertie, yeah. I think that's great. So we've got Bertie and Penelope.
Aww.
What wonderful friends they are.
Okay, so I'm just adding, I don't know, some detail. Okay, so I'm gonna do like a different kind of effect for his snout area. I'm gonna create a new layer, and then using the selection tool, actually just select that area. Make sure I'm on a new layer, yeah. And I'm going to use one of my favorite brushes in this pack is the Rusty Stovetop because it's so unpredictable. That sounds bad.
Lisa, can you open the brushes for a sec?
Yeah.
The brush panel. Look at these names, people. I love going through this pack just to see what Lisa's called them. Coffee granules.
Yeah, so some cute names. This one is so it's so unpredictable and cool, so you don't really know the results until you've actually kind of finished with it.
Mm-hmm. And just to be clear, you've done a new layer here, you said, and
yes,
you've got a clipping mask.
Yeah. So I've just kind of selected an area and just randomly using the brush. And then I'm going to set the blending mode to something else more interesting. And just bring the opacity down. I think that looks pretty cool. And I want to delete that line.
When you see this mouth area in the layers panel, it looks a bit like a loaf of bread.
Exactly.
Doesn't it?
Okay, so that's kind of giving you a cutout feel, which is quite cute. Especially if you, oops. Let's come back to that. Especially if you overlap areas. Okay, so we're going to start working on some shadow. Shadow is like a really cool way to just kind of give your character a little bit more dimension and bring it to life. I know a lot of people, they prefer it's kind of flat like this, which is great. But me personally, I actually like adding that kind of dimension. And the thing with shadow, you can actually add a whole nother angle, kind of color angle to your work. So I'm going to use a purple, believe it or not. So with a new layer added, I'm going to use purple and maybe the sky. I know it looks crazy at the moment, but bear with me. Bear with me.
Just wait until you start shading the bird, then you're really going to be winging it. Oh.
It's on top form.
By the way, for any honest designers show listeners out there, we skipped our first week.
Yeah.
After 3 years, we skipped our first week because I couldn't come in the office because I was self-isolating at home with a bit of a cough. So we will be back very soon. In fact, this week, I think we're going to be back. So
yes,
for any people out there that missed our chats, yeah, we missed you too.
Okay, so I'm just randomly kind of adding shadow here and there, a bit of texture. Okay, so now we're going to set that to multiply. Just bring the opacity down a bit. And then using a cooler color, I'm going to add some shadow work to the nest.
By the way, for everyone who's grabbing these packs, do be aware that most of them are actually available as part of our Procreate event. They are 50% off for this week only. And of course, as you add additional brush sets to your cart, you can save even more. So this is such a perfect opportunity to grab any of these brushes that you've been thinking about getting in the past. You're never going to get a better time where they're more affordable.
Exactly. Okay, so we're starting to see kind of like a whole new dimension added to that. You can, depending on your taste, we could really add more texture and more detail. And also, obviously, depending on the opacity that you use. So what I like to do is from here, because now we're kind of seeing where we want to go, right? So we can either start really adding on top of that, or you can stop or whatever, but I'm going to keep going and just play around and see what happens.
Oh, Andrea said in the chat, Penelope keeps dozing off in the warm sun.
Oh.
Is it warm where you are, Lisa? Because it's really starting to pick up for us. It is.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, despite
that.
staying inside so much and all that stuff, have been managing to get a bit of sunbathing on the balcony and, do some work, sat out in the sun, which makes it all a bit more bearable.
Sure does. And again, just play around with, the opacity and the blending modes until you're kind of happy with the results. So I'm going to start working on the background. Might be running out of layers, but we'll see. No. Okay. What I like to do with backgrounds is, okay, I'm going to start with using a darker color for my background. And then build on a new layer. I'm going to use a lighter version of that color. And it sometimes is quite subtle. But basically what you're doing is you're just adding just slight variation to your background. So it's not so kind of one-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using the stamps from my brush pack. These are like a great way to quickly add some interest to your backgrounds. Oops.
Yeah, I love these. They're so quick to use, but they have such an impact.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're finding like areas are too much, like for example, this area at the top left-hand side, you can easily just kind of delete areas. So I'm going to use the greasy eraser because that's kind of like a grungy eraser. And just randomly.
Oh, Christine says, I have some of your work in the design packages, and I love that I can now see your face and hear your voice. She loves your personality.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Lisa is a good egg, everyone. If you're not familiar with what she does, you should follow her on every platform.
Oh, that's nice of you, Tom. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to... Actually, we don't need that anymore. And delete that. Coming back to one of my favorite brushes. Rusty stove top. And we just randomly... I know it looks hectic at the moment, but we're going to bring the opacity down. And I always set it to multiply so it kind of blends in better with the background.
You work in a similar way to how I do when I texture, Lisa, and it's been really interesting this week to see how different people work. We've had some people who go full opacity and just pick the final color. I much prefer to kind of layer it on thick and then scale back the opacity and play with blend modes and see what you get.
Yeah, exactly. I think it might be like, well, for me, it's more fun because like you can experiment more that way. It's more free. Okay, so final touches. What are we doing for time? Okay, we're not too bad.
We're okay. Yeah, you're doing good.
Okay, so final touches. We're going to add some sprinkles and speckles and things. Okay, so I'm going to come over to my breadcrumbs and pick a light color. And I'm just randomly kind of flying my pencil over the whole screen. And again, bringing down the opacity until I'm happy. Probably something like that. And just going to bring this guy down because we need another layer. And then for the dark speckles, probably him. And pepper grinder.
Christina says you should give the bird a crown since it looks like she's ruling over the bear.
She does look like she's ruling over the bear. Oh, little thing.
Is that you and Cliff at home?
Probably.
Do the dishes.
Yeah. Okay, so I use color burn. What do you call it? Blending mode, because I really like that one. So yeah, I just brought down the opacity. And the nice thing with that, you can really have fun with these speckly brushes because you could even add. I mean, I'll just show you quickly. You can even add purple to your just to tie in the palette, which I'm not going to do at this point. But yeah, you can do. It's a good way to actually like just bring in a bit of color if you need some interest to your work. Yeah, and I think it is a bit rash, sorry. I would have taken a little bit more care maybe, but
it's amazing, yeah. Lisa, and I can't believe the time that you've done that in.
Really?
It's very impressive.
Okay, well, it's a lot to do with, and I'm not saying this because I want to sell my pack, but I must say the character drawing kit really cuts out that whole thing of guessing shapes. I find that to be, I mean, I use it in my work, and yeah, it's so much easier and faster. So,
I mean, is there anything more intimidating at points than just a blank canvas?
Well, exactly.
You have to start a line going and kind of hope it turns out all right.
Yeah, exactly. And like we did in the previous live demo that we did, Tom, where I showed, it's also a great way to do a little bit of like exercises for drawing, like just to get your creativity flowing. Yeah. So that's it, I think.
That is so cool. Would you like to stop sharing and come back and join me, and we can go through some of the questions that are coming in? But first of all, before we do that, huge thank you, Lisa. And let's give it up for Lisa in the comments, everyone. Let's show some love because that was such a therapeutic, helpful, and just generally amazing session. So thank you.
Cool. Pleasure.
I always like watching your work. That's the calmest I felt all week, in fact.
Oh, good. Oh,
Very
excellent.
Nice.
Job well done.
So the texture pack is linked up below this live stream, and our team will continue to share the other packs. In fact, it might be great if we could switch that green button over to Lisa's entire store, because obviously that has everything in there in one helpful place. How do we manage to keep up with the amount of brushes, Marsha says? That's a very good question.
Good question.
So Kathy asks, will you explain how to vectorize the finished piece? I hope so. So we're no longer sharing, but is there a process that you can articulate around that maybe?
Yes. Okay, so the first thing you got to remember with vectorizing work from Procreate is that every single thing you want on its own layer. So the line work needs to be in its own layer. The base shape needs to be on its own layer. And if you want to start adding shadow and texture and that kind of thing, even those need to be all on their own layer, so that when you actually bring it into Illustrator, you can vectorize every single element. And that's basically what I do. So with a drawing like this, I obviously would need to skip a few of the textures because it's just too much for Illustrator. I would probably have a basic shape of the bear, some shadow work, maybe 1 or 2 textures for him, and then obviously his eyes and his little cheeks and things like that. So those will all be separate layers. And then you bring it into Illustrator and you auto trace or image trace, and you can start coloring from there. I've got a Skillshare class that takes you through that process step by step if you want to check it out.
Amazing. I'm sure that the team can link that up as well. So we've got a few people asking about if it has been recorded and if people can watch it back. And yes, with all our live sessions and everything happening as part of this Procreate event this week, we are recording the sessions. You can watch them back in the same format, and we are also going to edit it up nice and neatly and put it on our YouTube, so you can go back through it at your own pace. And we even had people, Lisa, yesterday who pointed out quite rightly that on YouTube you can even slow it down. So you can watch them at half speed if you want to catch every little tip that's happening.
Yes, that's brilliant. Yeah, because sometimes you go too fast, I know, for some people. So yeah, that's cool. That's brilliant.
Definitely. Mary says she's using all your products in Illustrator, but she's pretty new to Procreate. Can you speak at all about how one gets started in that software and just gets going and learning it?
Yeah, I think so. So start by creating work or projects that are fun for you. Don't try and think that you're going to master all the techniques and all the brushes and all the things that you can do in Procreate. So just start with the basics. Start with if you have my Procreate character kits, that's a perfect place to start. So start by building up a little character for yourself, and then adding color. And that's the best way to learn, is to actually do a live, if I can call it that, project. Sometimes just watching a tutorial on all the features of a program isn't really helpful. So the best way to learn is to literally walk yourself through a project, come up with an idea, what you want at the end, and then kind of figure out a way to get there. I would say that's your best bet.
Love it. Good tips. Sam asks, where is the podcast? Is it in the App Store? Yes, it is. It's on every single podcasting platform. It is called The Honest Designer Show. I'm sure that our team can link that up in the chat. But it's something we're very proud of. We've done it for 3.5 years now.
I know, it's insane.
Chatting every single week with our friends Ian Barnard, who's going to be on tomorrow, and Dustin Lee. And 1.5 million of you have tuned in over the years, which is super humbling. So we'll link that up in the chat. But yeah, thank you for the question, Sam. So we have a few questions about layers, saying if I believe there is a layer limit, isn't there, in Procreate? So if people are exceeding that, what do you recommend?
Okay, so I often exceed them because my files are fairly large. I want a high resolution. So what I do is I kind of plan it. So I do all my basic color work, and I make sure that I'm happy with that. And then what I do is I keep that file, I make a duplicate of it, and then I flatten all those layers that I am happy with, so that I can continue to add new layers in that new duplicate file, so that you've always got your original file to kind of work from. It's almost like you're saving the steps as you go, but at least get to a point. Each point that you reach, make sure that you're happy, and then make a duplicate, and then you can start adding, flatten everything, and then start adding those new layers from there.
That makes perfect sense.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And Christina, final question, said, when did you start drawing?
Oh,
that's a good question.
Well, so I've always been drawing, but not very well. No, really. So I've only really started upping my drawing skills, I'd say, in the last 5 years. I kind of like took a crash course. When I say crash course, I put myself into a crash course. I spent a year literally like drawing every single day on a quest to find my style, to find the things I like, to get better at, general basic techniques of drawing. And what I did discover along the way, which I know a lot of us want to skip, is that we need to go back to the basics. You need to kind of understand anatomy. You need to also understand how to recognize shapes in objects. And you need to basically, just work from the bottom up. That's going to be your best thing. And you have to kind of do the time. And there's no
shortcuts, right?
Really. Yeah. No.
Perfect advice once again. So Lisa, a huge thank you. Maybe if the team can make it so both of us, there we go. They read my mind. It's on the ball. Big shout out as well. I know there's been so much, thanks and loveliness in the comments, but I want to give a shout out to the Design Cuts team as well behind the scenes who make all of these sessions run smooth. We really appreciate you guys. But yeah, Lisa, thank you so much for such an incredible session. That was great.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure. And thanks everyone for coming.
I know.
Very cool of you. Thank you.
Look at you, lovely bunch. Nearly 2,500 people. This is mad. I think that might have been our busiest session ever. So that's testament to the Lisa Glanz fan club out there.
You guys are great. Thank you.
Just want to let everyone know about a few other incredible things happening as part of this event. So we will link it up below this live stream, but do go register for the other speakers happening. We've got our next session with Art by Flow happening in about 15 minutes. So if you are at home and you're looking for some good creative fun, jump straight over to that session. Flo's work is unbelievable as well. She's an incredible illustrator. She does very, very realistic artwork, and that's going to be a value-packed session in Procreate as well. I would also say definitely check out the 50 brushes that we have available, which include Lisa's fantastic brushes as demonstrated today. And as I said earlier, it is the best time to grab any of these brushes. They're 50% off. All of the brushes that are part of this event are 50% off for this entire week. And you can, of course, get additional savings as you add things to your cart, which you can only get here at Design Cuts. So we've seen tons of people taking advantage of that. People keep sending me screenshots on Instagram as well of all the amazing brushes that they're getting. So do keep it up. Tag us up at Glanz Graphics, at Design Cuts, at Tom Ross Media on Instagram, and we'd love to chat with you and see how you're using your brushes.
Definitely.
And also on a final note, because we have so many people here today, I did want to shout out the fact that we have our ever expanding bundle, which is our thank you to our community. And we know that a lot of people are stuck at home right now. We know that people are appreciating and using freebies as well more than ever. And we do have over 20 free products, which is our kind of gift for the Design Cuts community. So if you're not aware of that or you haven't grabbed them yet, please do so. And a huge thank you to all of the talented and very generous designers we work with who've helped pack that out with value for the community.
Yay.
So as I say, you will see me again in about 15 minutes on the next session with Flo. And please do join us for that. It's going to be so value packed. And then we have more incredible speakers tomorrow. I believe we've got Tila Cunningham, Ian Barnard, Peggy Dean. It's going to be a fantastic final day of speakers for this event. And I can't wait to see you then. But Lisa, thank you again. You're the best. And I'll chat to you tomorrow for the podcast as well.
Yes. Okay, cool.
All right.
Take care, everyone.
See you everyone soon. Thanks, Lisa. Bye everyone.